Warp drive active.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing another video, this time about incursions, specifically vanguards. So incursions are a really good way to make ISK, depending on how you do them with very little risk too. So incursions are run in groups. Right now the current most popular doctrine is shield fleets, but there are armor fleets as well. Intro groups, you'll sometimes find run with standard battleships, while higher end groups won't really let you in unless you're in a pirate battleship, such as a Nightmare, a Vindicator, or a Macarial. Fits on these ships also range from Tech 2 to pirate and faction modules. So again, I mean, you can get into a high-end fleet if you've got a Tech 2 fit Macarial, but they'll take someone who is pirate fit over you. The cool thing about incursions is they actually scale really well with the skill of your group, both skill point wise and experience wise. So a really experienced fleet with a lot of SP and good fits will make a lot more money per hour than a group running Tech 2 fit Megathrons who aren't very well skilled for their ships. And the video you're watching right now was recorded by me flying a Vindicator with the Vanguard project, who are a great group of guys, and I really recommend that if you're going to run incursions, specifically Vanguard incursions, you run with them. Although they are a higher end group, so you won't really find a place in a fleet unless you are logistics or in a pirate battleship. So there are three types of incursions. Whenever a constellation is a part of an incursion, each system will receive a classification. The three main ones are Vanguard, Assault, and Headquarters. Those are in ascending order of ISK per hour and risk. So Vanguards are the lowest risk and the lowest ISK per hour, which is not to say that they're bad. It takes about 10 people in fleet to run a Vanguard, whereas Headquarters you need around 40 people. Since headquarters sites are harder, they tend to pay more. You'll probably make around 110 to 130 million ISK an hour running Vanguard sites, whereas a good headquarters fleet will get you 150 to 180 million ISK an hour. Obviously, those values are before whatever taxes your corporation has, and that's not including the huge amounts of Concord LP you'll get as well that you can spend in the Concord LP store. So to start out running incursions, you need to pick a group to fly with and just join their channel. So for example, when I started out, I just searched it up. There was a forum thread, a really useful forum thread that I'll link in the description, with a list of groups and links to their websites and their chat channels. So pick your favorite group and join their chat channel, see how they do their thing. And then on their website, you'll probably see a public doctrine. So go ahead and fit a ship up to the public doctrine, exactly to the doctrine. The thing is, when it comes to running incursions, there isn't really much room for you to experiment with your own fits, especially in the more high-end groups. I mean, some intro groups might allow you to do your own thing, but high-end groups really, unless you're flying their public doctrine, they probably won't let you into a fleet. So fit up your ship and just put an X in channel with your link to your fit, and they'll probably invite you to fleet. Always remember to bring the proper ammo with you, and always switch ammo whenever requested. Make sure you double check with your FC, because different FCs will have different ideas on what kind of ammo you should be bringing and when you should switch ammo. Always, 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 no matter what, listen to the FC, because he calls the shots. He or she, I should say, calls the shots in the fleet. Do whatever they tell you to, no matter what. If they tell you to warp, you warp. If they tell you to jump, you jump. They tell you to hold, you hold. They tell you to switch ammo, switch ammo. Just don't question it. Just do it. A good FC will start out every fleet by calling targets. So you'll warp into a site. Maybe you have no idea what you're doing. They'll call targets. Even in the Vanguard project, they do it all the time. Most of the guys I fly with, they're pretty experienced. They know what they're doing, but the FC still calls targets. It's just, it's good practice. If you don't know anything, feel free to ask. Like I said, even the most experienced fleet probably won't mind answering your questions. So again, even high-end fleet, the Vanguard project, I fly with them, and if I don't know something, I ask, and they just tell me. I literally went into incursions knowing absolutely nothing, started with the Vanguard project, and they taught me everything. Seriously, ask. Don't screw up your fleet because you're too afraid to ask something in fleet chat. So like I said, this video is going to be about Vanguard Sights. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the three types of Vanguard Sights. So you have nation mining colonies, which are abbreviated as NMCs. They're really straightforward. You just warp in. There's a bunch of enemies. You kill everything. Once all enemies are dead, there's going to be a refinery that's going to spawn. It's a little can, and you need to put in ore to complete the site. So if you ever hear the FC talking about ore running, or if you can carry ore, the ore is lyovite ore, and one stack is 255 ore. It's around 300 cubic meters, I think, in your hold. So most FCs will ask that anyone who has this space will bring at least one stack with them, so that while you're out running sites, if you run into an NMC, then you can complete it, so you don't just kill everything and then sit there realizing you have no ore. So generally what will happen is you'll go in, and while you're on the gate, or as soon as you land in the site, one of the ore carriers will drop a stack of ore, and then you have one character who's designated the ore runner, who will go ahead and pick up that ore and fly it over to where the container will spawn. And as soon as all the enemies are dead, they'll drop the ore in the container, and the site will clear, and you can continue on to the next site. Next type is called a Nation Commander Outpost, or an NCO. There's really nothing special about NCOs. You just go in and kill everyone. They do take quite a while though, so generally, at least in my fleets, we don't run them whenever we can avoid it, but they're very straightforward. Just make sure you know target priorities, which again are up to your FC. And the last kind of Vanguard site, which is the one that, at least in my fleets, and I'm assuming most other fleets, is the one that everyone prefers to run, is an override transfer array, abbreviated OTA. So it's really quick. You just go in, kill everything except for the Eisters. The Eisters will respawn if killed, so there's no point in killing them. They don't do much damage. They just kind of sit there. The Deltols, which are the battleship rats, are the ones that trigger the next wave. And once you kill the last Deltol in the third wave, all the Eisters will warp off, and the site will be complete. Now there are towers in this site that they're like logistics towers that you need to hack with data analyzers, because they continue to repair all of the enemy ships in the site, which makes it hard to complete the site. So whenever you run these, you'll probably have a designated hacker who will fly into the site, go up to the tower, and hack it to disable it. When it's hacked, it's going to be disabled for 6 minutes, which will give you plenty of time to down a bunch of rats and hopefully complete the site. Final words of wisdom. Generally, the primary target in every single site you run in a Vanguard is going to be the Nyarjas, because they have target not target painters. They have target disruptors, and they have energy neutralizers. So those are really bad news for your fleet, especially if they decide to attack your Logi pilots, because a Logi that can't lock and has no capacitor is not a very useful Logi. So those are usually primaried first, and advice if you're in a Vindicator is, as soon as the wave starts, make sure you lock up the Nyarjas. Don't shoot them unless they get close, but keep them locked up in case the remainder of the fleet cannot down them before they get within range, because if they get within range and you don't have them locked, again, it's bad news for your fleet. Also, most Vanguard groups that you can fly with will have some sort of SRP program that tends to be very cheap. It's very difficult to die in a Vanguard site. Generally, it'll only happen because of a human error. So if Logi DCs or UDC, or CCP pours coffee on the servers or something, and you die, you'll be covered by SRP should you buy into it. I've not run into a group where SRP is required, but it's pretty cheap, so I usually always pay it. It's usually about 10 million ISK, and if the FC will probably give you details, but if he doesn't, make sure you ask if a SRP program is available. And like I said, it's 10 million ISK. That's like less than 10 minutes of flying with the fleet, so you might as well do it if you're flying, a faction fit Vindicator that's worth 2 billion ISK, 3 billion ISK. You might as well just pay it, so that if you do get ganked or what have you, that they will replace your ship. So sometimes while you're flying, you'll run into another fleet who's trying to complete the site that you're trying to complete. So what this is known as is a contest. So generally, the winner of a contest is the fleet who deals the most damage to the NPCs before the site runs out. So oftentimes, it's usually going to be more dependent on the fits of the ships that are being run by the fleet than anything else, because the fleet with a higher DPS is probably going to win, but there is an element of skill to it, so it also depends on the skill of the FC in calling targets. But just remember, whenever you do contest the site, make sure you give a good contest in local, regardless of the outcome. It's just good etiquette, and it's a nice thing to do. Also, if you pay attention, you'll see in the incursions, I guess, section over on the left side of your screen, there's going to be an occupation bar or an influence bar. So this represents how close the incursion is to being completed. Most of the time it's going to be all the way full, because what generally happens is groups will run the incursion very quickly to the end and then just kind of hold it there because they don't want to end the incursion yet. The reason for this is once the incursion ends, it's going to have to respawn. So each incursion will spawn a new incursion about 24 to 36 hours after it's completed. Um, but sometimes you'll find that there are no incursions that any groups are running, because incursions can spawn anywhere, high sec, low sec, or null sec. Groups generally only run them in high sec. You'll also run into incursions that spawn in high sec islands, where it's an area of high security space that you can only actually get to by flying through low sec, and groups generally won't bother with those either, because it's way too easy to gate camp a pipe into a high sec island. So sometimes it is very annoying. Also, the traveling is very annoying between incursions. You'll generally have 20 to 30 jumps to fly, and when you're flying a battleship that warps at 2 astral units per second, it's not a very pleasant journey to make. Um, but it comes with the territory. One of the caveats of running incursions. Another is that you can't really do anything unless a fleet is up. So if there is no incursion up, or if whatever group you're flying with is not running fleets, this applies mostly to people who are in a different time zone. U.S. time zone people, it's very easy for you. If you're Russian, if you're German, I believe you have your own groups, but really anyone else, it's going to be very difficult to find people that run in your time zone. Which is not to say that it isn't doable. It's just kind of a hard thing to do. So, but if there is no fleet currently up, you don't really have much of a choice. Incursions are not something you can even begin to solo, so you just kind of sit there spinning your ship, waiting for another fleet to form. Um, but when all is said and done and you're running an incursion, generally most of the community is very friendly, so you'll be cracking jokes in TeamSpeak and having a good time and making lots of ISK, and it's pretty pleasant. So that's really it for incursions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like and comment, subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Twitter for the latest updates, and I do run contests as well. I do run giveaways on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter, you can get entries to those. I give away things like plexes, battleships, stuff like that is what I'm planning to do in the future. Right now I have a giveaway up for a plex. So check the description for a link to my Twitter and to the forum post I was talking about earlier. I'm also going to include a link to the website for the Vanguard project, because like I said, they're a great group of guys and I cannot recommend flying with them enough. They're all great guys except for Rikku, who's just bad. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and fly safe.